Another big day of competition to break down here on the Corona Post Show here at the Rip Curl Newcastle Cup. And what a day it was. Big performances from some of the top seeds, but also some very surprising results and a couple of big upsets. Thanks for joining us. Ronnie Blakey, joined by a couple of my favourites. Bugs, Rabbit Bartholomew, great to have your company for this event, mate.
Great to be here, Ronnie. What a great day.
A great day. And Rich, just contain yourself, mate. We'll get to the Coronas in just a moment.
My precious.
But, mate, a big day of competition and a real surprise to wake up this morning, get down here to Merewether and see that there was actually some swell on offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And the froth was just bubbling from first light. We saw that new southerly swell, that big long period, 15-second ground swell that finally turned up overnight, and a welcome return to competition this morning.
And we wanted to get the contest underway again, Rabbit, in good conditions because we had heavily stacked elimination round heats.
Well, that's right. And you know, they're the hardest to go. I mean, on day 2 of any waiting period, that's the day that round 2 begins. You don't see many people practicing. They don't want to make it look good. But this morning, it was on from day. You know, everyone knew it was on. We were frothing to get it going.
We were, and we got into some pretty exciting heats after the elimination round. We went into the women's round of 16, and that's really where we saw our first major upset of this event. Tyler Wright falling out of the mix. Courtney Conlogue, she stuck to her guns. She went out the back. Tyler mucked around in the shore break and wasn't able to put up the kind of scores that kept Courtney at bay.
Well, that was the heat before had been very, very quiet, but it was a big gamble. I mean, Tyler surfed the short break, superbly. This is a 5.67, which is a keeper throughout the day. But gee, leaving her opponent on the outside to have the whole ocean to herself, big call.
Well, you can just see the difference in size of the waves there between what Tyler was surfing on the inside break to what Courtney was utilising outside. These big open face turns and really, just grab that opportunity. That little slip up, that momentary lapse in strategy just didn't pay off for Tyler, and Courtney pounced.
Always a bit of a gamble if your performance was the more fancy competitor up against someone. It almost seems silly to take yourself out of their space. If you're going to get in an exchange, a wave-for-wave battle with someone, you'd kind of back yourself to do it from the takeoff point. On
equal terms. I mean, and basically, those girls have got this amazing rivalry. This was their 16th heat. It was 8-7 in favour of Courtney, so she wasn't an underdog. She had slightly had the wood on Tyler going into it.
Yeah, it's all the interpretation that the panel throws out there too, Rich, because like Bug said, Tyler did rip those inside waves apart, but on a day where you're awarding the big turns on the outside section, you can't just shift gears one heat to the next.
No, it was really weird, and Bugs, you touched on it. It wasn't like Tyler needed to find a real competitive advantage or some sort of magic dust to try and beat Courtney. I mean, she's the world champ, multiple world champ. She doesn't need that. Just go pound for pound, wave for wave, put it on an even playing field. She should have backed herself.
Well, especially in a 35-minute heat, because you're really nearly going, we wish the ocean goes completely flat for a very long period of time. It's a big call,
yep.
Because it's been fairly consistent today. Only the heat before was slow, but, eventually it was going to bust open again.
Well, she seemed really happy in a post-heat interview. She was probably one of the happiest surfers to be eliminated. She seems to have taken the loss on the chin, so she's already looking forward to Narrabeen.
That's the amazing thing about Tyler. Always lets her losses go pretty quickly, and she'll, as always, be very difficult to stop no matter where she's competing. So she'll set her focus on Narrabeen. Let's rewind a little bit. The elimination heats on the men's side in particular were, really surprising to see all those names in there. A lot of surfers in danger of falling out of the mix in that second round for the first time ever, facing a 33rd, and some did better than others in avoiding that third place finish. But it was the second heat that was just so amazing to look at on paper. Julian Wilson, Jack Robinson and Mikey Wright. And there was a lot of little stories unfolding in this heat, Rich.
Yeah, there was. And there was the little battle that Julian and Jack Robbo have sort of established so early on in Jack's career. But Julian really came out of the gates and silenced any sort of doubt and totally ripped. Looked really committed, opened up very first wave, very first manoeuvre with a big high-risk turn, and then he just continued to build throughout the heat, and really you could feel that Julian was building confidence, and he took something away from this heat. He's starting to get his role happening.
Julian Wilson put on a masterclass.
Yeah, and Mikey Wright also, he came to the party, he came to play, and that was one of his standout turns there. And this was the story for Mikey, just a little bit late for that second turn in a clutch performance right in the dying minutes. Jack Robbo found this little jam and just managed those two whopping turns outside, milked it all the way to the shore and went from third into the progressive situation there, and unfortunately pushed Mikey Wright down into third and out of the event.
The evolution of Jack Robinson was really on display in this heat. I think we got a glimpse of what Jack Robinson used to look like. Bugs, early on in the heat, he wasn't really piecing it together. He looked flat through some of his calves, and something clicked in the dying stages. And when the clutch opportunity arose, he took it with both hands and laid into a couple of solid turns on the outside.
Well, talk about the cardiac hit, because it was only the wave before, like I'm talking like about the wave before that he fell on, that he mistimed another turn, and then that wave turned up for him. So, wow, that was a clutch move.
Yeah, just adjusted his surfing in that heat. It just felt like Mikey Wright was so intent on getting two major turns on the outside. Sometimes it felt a little rushed, that second turn. And sadly for him, a 33rd, the first time he's ever lost out in the second round of a championship tour event in 15 contests. So that's, you know, a poor result to be taking it into the third stop of the tour, and he didn't do much at Pipe either, Rich.
Well, these ones sting a little bit, and we do name them, you know, dirty teas for a reason. They sting, but it'll all be about bouncing back, bringing his performance, picking up the pieces for Narrabeen. I'm sure we'll see him produce some goods down there.
Well, let's now hear from our last quarter finalist in the women's event. Caroline Marks is with Stace.
Down here with Caroline Marks, who closed out the day with a pretty strategically impressive heat win. Tell me, I saw you out the back there keep an eye on Brisa in the shorey immediately.
Yeah, for sure. You know, Brisa's such a strong competitor, and I knew my heat was like on the cusp of like, you know, moving in to the shore break, and it was kind of sketchy to be like that, kind of like have that heat just to be like, oh, what do I do? But I was kind of seeing what she was doing, and it was towards the end of the heat, and I knew it was going to be really close. So once I knew she needed to score, I was like, all right, maybe I'll go sit on her and try to just take away her opportunities. But yeah, definitely really sketchy and scrappy, but yeah, really stoked to make it through, and yeah, feeling good. So
yeah, I think your decision making was spot on. You're making it sound a lot easier than what it is. There's like 300 metres between the outside and the inside, and you're onto it like a hawk. So I think you know, you're looking really sharp. A lot of people say they would learn that from a young age, but Caroline, you are young. Is that something that comes instinctively to you, or have you been taught that?
I don't really know. You know, that was my first time ever surfing outside at Newcastle, so that was pretty interesting. And I was trying to figure out the lineup. You know, good thing I got Luke Egan. He's, you know, he knows this way better than anyone else. So, but yeah, when I was paddling in, I was like, oh, it's a lot farther than I thought. You know, but thankfully it worked out. And like I said, yeah, Brisa's such a strong competitor, so I just wanted to make sure I took away her opportunity, and it all worked out, so I'm really stoked.
Absolutely, and your opportunities at the start looked hard to ride, but you did your best. What equipment are you on at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. I'm just on a Matt Biolas driver. He's made me some amazing boards. My boards actually feel like amazing at the moment, so thanks to him, and yeah, I'm really stoked and feeling really confident, so hopefully get some more waves in my next heat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, the next couple of days is looking pretty fun on the forecast, so fingers crossed for that. Anyone at home you'd like to quickly check in with? It's pretty late, but I'm sure they're watching.
Yeah, my parents back home, and all my brothers. I have like 8 people in my family, so I love you guys all, and all my friends. You guys are amazing. Thanks for supporting, and yeah, I love you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Caroline. Well
awesome.
done.
Thank you. Cool.
Yeah, Caroline Marks, we're so used to seeing her put excellent scores on the board, and it feels like sometimes when she's in these heats where she's not getting that opportunity to perform, it's sometimes let her down, just her competitive savvy, but it's evolving, and she grinded her way through a very difficult heat there, Bugs.
Well, towards the end of the heat, she was very, very savvy about it. She knew that Brisa was paddling back out, was going to go to that shore break, had just posted the highest scoring single heat score of the heat, and she came in to shut her down, but Brisa's still got a couple of waves on the shore break, but just not quite enough.
Well, last time we had competition underway, it was Caroline Marks who got the Boost Mobile Wave of the day. But today, that honour belongs to the Italian. Leonardo Faravanti went out there today on his backup equipment because he busted his board before the contest got underway this morning. Had to run in with a local. But he absolutely tore this one apart, Rich.
Yeah, he did. Leo just looked so frisk and just speedy. You know, he was just up and over these sections. And watch this, comes around, just slams that lip. And this one just held it was steep all the way, the whole way through. Held up, and then he got this little bonus section on the inside and just tags it one after the other. And there really wasn't any moment where you took points away from him on that one. You know, he started at 10 and then chop a few points here and there, and just you came up with a really good score. But there wasn't much he did wrong. There wasn't much more he could do. Maybe an aerial. That was maybe why it didn't get up into the 9s and 10s. But an amazing wave from Leo.
Yeah, and he's a guy, Bugs, who's really fought through a lot of injuries the past two seasons. It's great to see him fit, healthy, and on season for the rest of the schedule. Well,
it was a great comeback to Newcastle because I was here the day he got his most recent big injury that really took him out for a long time. I think it might have been his shoulder.
Dislocated his shoulder,
and
that's right.
He was just so shattered. He was so shattered. So what a great comeback to Newcastle. And that wave, as you said, Rich, I mean, it just had body all the way through. It was a wave that just wrapped down all those little pointers on at Merriweather and just hit all the marks, and he surfed it superbly.
Yep, the Boost Mobile Wave of the day. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going behind the scenes again with Dimity, and we've got today's top 5. Welcome back to the Corona Post Show. We're having a look at the Surfline forecast. Today we were surprised. Nice little bump in the swell, Bugs. What can we look forward to over the next few days?
Well, I'm actually not the forecaster, but it's looking a lot more promising than it did yesterday. I mean, I just get up in the morning, look out there, I could hear the ocean. Gosh, I just hope that, it looks great to me.
Yeah, you got the same forecasting kind of interest as me by the looks of things. Rich, you've been following it pretty closely.
Yeah, I have, mate. What we had today was that long period southeast swell, those long lines. That's going to taper off overnight, and then we're going to get this new easterly energy, little fraction of north in it as well, but they're going to be coming straight into the Merriweather break. So there's going to be a little bit more disjointed in the actual swell line, but the exciting thing is that this easterly swell is going to build over the next few days, all the way into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's looking very promising for very contestable waves over the next few days.
For sure, and we know it was challenging out there today, a little flatter in sections, so the surfers really had to pick their moments to attack the lip and find the critical sections out there. But I think a few of them were coming in saying it felt like you weren't getting much back, but Owen Wright was one of those guys, but he let go of two of the biggest turns of the day. Absolutely.
Well, it certainly didn't look like there was any lack of power, just gauging on the way that the surfers were taking to these walls and some of the, the rail engagement and some of the power turns that were going down from the men and women. Unbelievable.
I mean, at 6 o'clock this morning, I could hear the ocean. It was cracking. I said, there's some juice in this. So, God, I hope it keeps coming.
Going on behind the scenes there with Surfline. Let's go behind the scenes now with Dimity Stoyle.
Okay, Macy, you just had a heat with your best friend Sage. Your next matchup is against your another best mate, Steph Gilmore. How do you feel about that?
It's just mate versus mate these days. You know the game.
I was there with you last night. How was that sunset?
That was probably that's why I go surfing.
So Caroline, what do you think this wave is a mixture of?
Well, right now it kind of looks a little bit like bells. Like on high tide, it kind of reminds me a little bit of zippers. So
a mixture between bells and zippers. Who have we got here? The champ. You fired up?
oh yeah,
What's the vibes? Competitive versus competitive vibes.
got Caroline in there.
Caroline's in the zone over there. Caroline. Owen, in the showers.
Chilling. I thought there was 4 heats of the chicks, and oh shit, there's 2 heats. And just left my stuff sprawled out in the car park and just grabbed a board and ran. Yeah.
Love it.
Dimity Stoyle on absolute fire here at the Rip Curl Newcastle Cup. But gentlemen, let's dive straight into it. The top 5, some big moments today, some top performances. And starting with number 5, the world champs won through on the women's side, and they look so sharp. Stephanie Gilmore, she had a great performance, managed to get the win over Macy Callahan, but it was Carissa Moore for me that just blew minds. The turn of the event so far for sure. Really impressive stuff.
It was absolutely amazing. Like this single just blast. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was a huge score, almost an excellent score just on that turn alone, Rich.
Yeah, it was, and it really shows you that with that one big committed turn out the back, you can drop an excellent score. And, well, Steph, she sort of showed the youngster that she still has a little bit more work to do. Just look at the speed and fire coming out of that one, and I just love how Steph, just in between her turns, coils back up, gets low, and then just sets that rail again on the bottom turn, comes out with all that speed and just slicing and dicing all day long.
Stepped up to some different equipment bugs. Said her fins felt a little small, and you saw that at times, but her opening manoeuvres very strong. But Carissa, she looked very comfortable. These kind of waves really suit her style, those big open faces.
Yeah, and there's it's a lot more powerful than it looks. And Steph and Carissa both revel in that kind of power. And Carissa, what a great heat.
Big smile on her face as she powers through to the quarterfinals. Has an opportunity to seize the ratings lead. Isabella Nichols came up against Tatiana Weston-Webb, their second heat this year. And Isabella got the job done. She looked sharp, Rich, and you backed her from the outset.
Yeah, this is one of my picks. I think Isabella is going to do some real damage on the tour this year. She's been doing so much work in the off-season, working on her fitness, working on her boards, but more importantly, working on her mental game. She's so much more confident now. She believes that she deserves to be here. She believes that she can win these big heats. And I just think by just looking at her composure today, unbelievable. And she brought turns like this. Huge rail spray, lots of power, and got the job done against Tatiana, who also surfed exceptionally well. In particular, that one big backside hook was a very notable turn for her.
And the fan was on hand to watch Isabella and cheer her through that heat, and she'll be hard to stop as she plows on through into the quarterfinals. Up next, it was Sally Fitzgibbons and Keely Andrew. And Keely's had a couple of big wins over Sally now, but she looked like a different surfer. I think there's been a few surfer on both the men's and women's side bugs this year that are making a return to the championship tour after getting knocked off, and Keely's one of them.
Well, Keely also looks like she's come back and she belongs. She has a lot more self-belief, and she's here to stay now.
Yeah, Sally Fitzgibbons has had competitive success in Newcastle in the past, and she looked really good in the opening stages of this heat, but just didn't put up those solid numbers.
Yeah, it was a really good performance from Keely. Some of the better surfing I've seen from her. More on edge, more on rail, a little bit more critical and pulling off the moves. And that's one thing in the past. I think she's been guilty of a few falls.
Well, Owen Wright, he's got to get his head around the women's format. He thought there was 4 heats in the elimination round. There's only 2. That's why he was late to this heat. But it kind of worked in favour, Bugs. It put him in great rhythm with the quality set waves, and he performed well, as did this man, Adriano de Souza, back on track and surfing with that fire.
Really fired up, and yeah, this was a great heat. And yeah, look at that passion. And Owen Wright on his backhand, gosh, he looks slick, so sharp.
Amazing how much of the wave face this guy can cover, how much ground he moves across when going for those big backhand blasts, Rich.
Yeah, he just gets all that projection off those longer bottom turns, and then when he extends off the lip, his turns just look bigger than most, you know, because he's got so much more leverage, that 6'2" frame, Avatar-esque. You know, he just really does throw that board around, and it is quite dynamic when he does it.
Well, you know, he does that deep bottom turn, and then I don't think anyone gets as quickly to the lip as Owen Wright from the bottom turn.
Amazing stuff. And then into our #1 moment today. Tyler Wright went out there with a game plan to potentially put some solid scores on the board on the inside, on that shore break section. She left Courtney Conlogue out the back. Courtney was patient, and she eventually got herself into a couple of decent-sized rides.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, let's not forget, Courtney's not an underdog here, and she's not a rookie either. She's one of the most experienced women on tour. And, well, she would have been rubbing her hands together out the back, knowing that she had full reign of the lineup, and didn't she just perform, you know? It could have been a little rattling situation as well. She could have been a bit off put if she didn't have that experience, but she just totally took it in a stride and went, you know what, if you're going to go in there, I'm going to capitalise out here. And she did just that.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, I think, when you reflect on Tyler's performance is you could clearly see that Tyler is one of the form surfers in the world right now. It was just a mistake tactically to surf that inside section.
And maybe, you know, because that was their 16th heat, maybe she was trying to get inside her opponent's head. You know, maybe she was trying to say, well, Courtney's out there, what's happening inside here? But it didn't quite pan out that way.
Well, some interesting quarterfinals now have been established on the women's side. We're going to have a look at the bracket now and look forward to what is to come, because it is going to be a great race to the cup. And Steph Gilmore will take on Isabella Nichols, and I think Steph would be aware of what Isabella achieved in that last heat. That was a big confidence builder, Rich.
It was, and I love this matchup, and I know Isabella's just going to be frothing for the opportunity to really upset a big name competitor, and she's going to get tested. You know, Steph's going to put her to the test. Let's just put it that way.
I'm going to jump to the bottom of the bracket here. That heat is awesome. Bronte McCauley, Caroline Marks. Caroline, obviously, already a world title runner-up. She has that feather in her cap. Bronte McCauley, I think the break has served her so well. I think she's been able to wash off all those early round losses, Bugs. I think this is going to be a big year for her.
If there's a bit of size, in that round, Bronte will be right in the mix, because her backhand is so sharp as well, and she looks much better on those big meteor waves.
Well, let's talk about the men's matchups for just a moment, Rich, because you and I were going through them, and there is some amazing ones. Looking forward to seeing what some of the Groms can do against world champions. Morgan Siblick has a massive heat. He's going to be up against Italo. Jackson Baker's up against Italo. But John and Morgan Siblick, the local crowd, are going to have to make plenty of noise for that one.
Well, there was a call earlier today that Morgan's injured himself. So, you know, that was coming from one of the guys in the surf club. So something might have happened there. I'm not sure.
That'd be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can still compete. But
yeah,
there's plenty of great matchups. You can check them all out on worldsurfleague.com. But tune in bright and early tomorrow morning, because there is a chance we could get more competition underway here at the Rip Curl Newcastle Cup. We'll leave you with the highlights.
Callahan. Big wind-up, closeout section.
De Souza up on the outside. Nice drawn-out carve. Holds that rail.
Gets another section on the inside. And look at the emotion they're on. Owen Wright outside. Just annihilating this wave run.
Jack finally out of the lip with a good combo.
And the rookie jumps ahead of Mikey Wright.
Big explosive hack from the Tahitian out the back. The Italian is just loving this playing field today. Blasting some big turns. Oh, another hammer through the inside. Isabella Nichols, the rookie on tour, getting a huge win and moving on to the quarterfinals. Courtney versus Tyler. What a thrilling heat to see on paper once again. Conlogue fired up, big first turn. This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.